Hey Motorized Bicycle family, Tony Taylor here from Bikeberry. It's good to see you. Welcome to Build It Custom. Today what we're going to do is we're going to mount this round tank here, but you can see that the angle is a little off, right? So I got to modify the post here. So I'm going to show you how to weld, how to fabricate, because the goal here is to build things custom. Let's roll. So here's the things that I like and don't like about it. I love the look of these round tanks, but I feel like it sticks back way too far and can cause a chance to pivot and stuff like that. I want to keep it as tight as possible to the seat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut the tubing here, this tubing, and we're going to move it forward about there. Okay? So that means we're going to basically cut this plate, cut this plate and move it back. Okay, not exactly at this weld that you can see, but we'll cut it back here, move it back, change the angle a little bit. It's gonna be fun. So I have one of these pipe vise clamps on my welding table. And so I'm gonna put it in there just like that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna cut the end off there to start with. Also remember, before welding or cutting on this, make sure no gas has ever been in it or it's completely dried out, okay? Make absolutely sure. So one thing I like to use is a tubing cutter. You don't need to use an angle grinder for everything. Tubing cutters are wonderful. So with a tubing cutter, you turn it a few times around and you tighten the handle. Turn it more around, tighten the handle. Just like that. A lot quieter than an angle grinder, which we'll have to use, but the least amount of times you can use it, the better. Almost there. Boom. All right. See, nice clean cut. Not a bunch of sparks. So for this, I'm actually going to remove the seat because I want it out of the way, because we're gonna have to take it off and on a lot to get it right, which is easy. All right, so you can see that we have just a bolt here and a bolt here. We want this to fit just over like that. Tighten up a little bit, make sure it's equal. So now this is why you mock things up, and this is great because you can see the angle that we need to cut this tubing at to attach to here, okay? Because we want it to float above this fender a little bit, but also kind of hug where the seat is. Something like that. So what I'll do is use masking tape to mark the angle of my cut. So what I'll do is I put the tape pretty much on the side with the angle that I saw on the seat post, okay? And I'll just wrap it at that angle. So we're gonna cut on this side of the tape, but I need to match center to center my next piece of tape. So you'll know when you're matched up pretty well. You pick the center line and your tape comes to there, and you pick the center line and your tape comes to there. For this, I'm using an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel, a really thin one, I don't know, 1/16 or something like that. See how close the tape is to the cut? So then we're going to balance it like that. Pretty cool, huh? So I mounted it in my little vise here, and I can add my little bracket and mount it in place. So as far as the welder I'm using, I have a Millermatic 211 wire feed Mig welder. You can see I use Flux core wiring. I don't have the argon gas mixture, because this way I can weld in the wind and all of that, and it's fine for most fabrication jobs. Now you don't have to have one that costs what this one cost. You can go to the farm store and find one much cheaper if you're just kind of sparingly using a welder. If you're welding all the time, then I suggest getting a high quality welder, because it'll just make your life easier. But you don't need one, just get one at the farm store and you'll be fine. So I have one of these auto hoods. They're pretty nice. They're not that crazy expensive. So I'll sand with my super coarse, like 36 grit. Oh, sorry, 40. Put our grounding clamp on. As you can see on the top there, I did the same thing on the side as I exposed it so that I can conduct electricity through it. So the right welding gear is important. I have a leather jacket because you don't want welding burns on your arms. It is unreal and will hurt more than you care to deal with. Got some big collars. So you can see that the tank is flat on the table because of the vise, how it's mounted. I wanted to make sure that this bracket was flat in there. So what I did was just tack weld it. That's called tack welding, where you just put a goober on there to hold it in place so that you can make sure that it's good before you fully weld it, okay? Because I want it to be straight and in line with it. And it looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. Little bird's eye view here. See how straight it is? Just kind of look at it from all different angles. All right. I would say tack welding is your most important weld, because it's the one that establishes everything and locks it in, so then you can fully weld it. Remember, flux core wiring leaves like a coating of the flux on there, so you have to brush it off to get it out of the way. So I'm tacking it on all sides so that it doesn't move. So sometimes you need to fill weld on these things. So you're going to fill it in, and then you're going to grind it out and then weld over it again. But for right now, I'm just going to get weld in there and get it all, a lot of penetration, and get it all stuck together. overall for a first pass, it went really well. You know, it's not the best looking right now, but you go over it one time and kind of get it all stuck together, run as nice of beads as you can, grind them down, and then run a nicer one over it. See how there it's kind of spotty? That's okay. We'll clean it up and we'll do another pass. So the most important thing right now is to make sure it's going to fit. So I just put all 4 bolts on here. We'll slide it on and make sure it is what we need it to be. So here's a good vantage point. See how it's level with the seat? That's what we want. No. Well, I came back inside. I had to stop for some dinner and I ran out of daylight. So I'll finish up grinding some of the welds out and then building them up. But right now it's fine. Let me know if welding is something you guys want me to do a full video on. I'll go through the whole process of like how to prep the metal, tack welding, how to align things, how to fight like heat warping and things like that. So let me know if like a welding, you know, full video on welding is needed. Let me know. I'll create that for you. But as far as the rest of the bike, it's looking exactly like I want it to. I love the round tank. It's just fun, just different. The one thing that I ordered that I need is these don't have a vent cap on them. So that's one drawback with them. So what I'm going to do is I ordered ones like this here, and it's a like motocross one. So I'll put a fitting in here. I'll drill and tap the cap, and it'll have that that little tube with the vent cap at the top of it, and then it'll vent properly and do its thing. The next thing is let's get down here, and you can see the outlet. So we'll put our valve on back here and then run our line up there, okay? Which you can see is kind of like my bike. See how I did that? And then I put stuff on it, got my filter there, runs over here, boom. I've never had a problem with fuel delivery. So it's been really good. So this one should actually be better when you look at like the height of the carburetor versus the height of the tank. It's gonna be good, I'm excited. I hope that helped you see the process of how to modify something that doesn't quite fit, you know, quite right, because this really isn't a plug and play hobby. It's one that you got to really figure out parts and get things to mechanically work all as one unit, really, okay? Which I love about it. That's my favorite part. Now, if you don't have a welder or a space to weld, a lot of welding shops will, you know, you can take your part there or whatever and have it all ready to go, and somebody will weld it for you and charge you 20 or so bucks to do that. So if there's a weld shop in your area, a fabrication shop, just hit them up and tell them what you're working on. They'd be excited to help you out, I'm sure. But for the rest of you who do have a place to weld, you can get a pretty inexpensive wire feed welder at a farm store or something like that. I prefer to weld outside. You could see I have a table outside in the dirt, because then as sparks hit the floor or the ground, the dirt, then a lot less chance for fires. Right now the grass is green and everything, so normally I kind of rake that whole area out also, and I don't weld when it's really dry. So just some things to be mindful of, but I have a lot better chance of being safe when I weld outside. So hope this helps you. Please like, subscribe. Don't forget, we're going to give this thing away at the end of this video series. We're going to do a lot of things because I really want to show you these details. What I'm thinking next, we'll see if it works out, but what I'm thinking next is we're going to make a cover plate a cover for here. So that'll be something that we'll do. I need to get the materials for it, but it's gonna be fun. So we're gonna keep customizing it. Anything that you want to know about as far as customizations, put them in the comments below. If you want a video on how to weld more thoroughly, I've passed lots and lots of welding tests. I welded for a living for a whole bunch of years, ran metal shops, all that kind of stuff. So I've welded big stuff to little stuff. But so I would love to teach that to you guys, okay? Yeah, let's keep building it custom. I appreciate you.